Amazing, amazing, Laurie Hardie. Good to have you back on the Guardian Cross Book Show podcast. Thank you very much for your patience.
Absolutely.
Okay. At this point, I like you to talk about your book. I like you to tell us where we can find your book. Do you have hard copies? Is it on
I
Amazon?
I do on Amazon, but the best place to go is to my actual website site, which is didnotseethatcoming.com. And I'll send you a signed copy.
Amazing. So let's talk about You Did Not See That Coming.
Yes, did not see that coming. So my little tagline is, after 14 years of marriage and 3 kids, my husband left me for David. And not only that, he took my best tiara and cemented my status as a single mom.
Wow, that was harsh. How did you go through this process? How have you
It
been
was,
doing this? What
it
keeps you
was,
going? What
yeah,
inspires you?
thank you. It was tough, but the most important thing is that he's my children's dad, and they love him, and we are a family, and so we walked through it with the most dignity, the best we could. We lived in a very small community, so sometimes it was a little difficult, but my goal was that we would get through this all loving each other, and I think that I did that. So the book isn't really, it talks a little bit about that, but the book is really, how do we stay on track? How do we live our dream? And often when we become single parents, we suddenly have a lot more to do. And how do we let go of some of those things and really focus on our kids? How do we honor the other parent, in a way that we can still be true to ourselves? Like one of my
Yeah,
messages is, don't talk bad about the other parent in front of the children, because that's their parent.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Wow. Amazing. Well, did not see that coming. Hope for single parent. Wow. Well, Laurie Hardie, I like you to talk about um your strategy. Obviously, no writer writes without having their readers in mind. What is your strategy to be sure that this message reach out to the people you wrote this for?
so my strategy, when I finished my book, was just when Facebook was coming online. So I did use that to market. I also got interviews because I worked in radio on a lot of radio stations, which I think is always a really good way to promote your book. And so I teach people, if you're going to be on the radio or TV to promote your book, you want to get right to it. That's why I had that little tagline, because
Yeah,
often they'll talk to you for 15 minutes, but unlike a podcast, they'll take just a short little snippet of what you say. So it's really important whenever you do get a chance to be interviewed, especially on TV or radio, to say the most important things first, and then you can talk about all the other things, because you want that hook. You want people to be interested, and you want them to at least listen to the interview. So radio, TV, social media. And then now for me with my podcast, I will talk about my book on my podcast, and sometimes I'll put a chapter on one of my episodes. So I use my podcast to drive people to my book or to my podcast teaching class. So those were the
wow,
best ways I found to market.
wow. Let's talk about your podcast. I like to know, is it about your book, or there are other problems you're solving on your podcast?
So because I used my book to help people get from kind of crisis, when you're in a crisis, and then to know that there's hope at the end. On the other side, we can walk through hard times. I interview women and some men who have gone through a really hard time. It's called interrupted. So, for instance, there was one woman who had been sex trafficked as a preschool teacher. She was in her 30s, and she met someone, and she tells her story, how it happened and how she escaped. And then I talk to people who have maybe lost their business, or maybe they lost their career, or maybe they went through a divorce. So I interview women and people who have gone through difficult times and how they got to the other side. But right now on Interrupted, I'm running a little series of podcasters, and they're telling us how they market, how they podcast. They're giving all their secrets to help people who are podcasting learn how to go ahead and do it and be successful and share their wisdom and their story. Because often when we think about writing a book or doing a podcast, we think, who's going to listen? But I always say, if you have a message and you're being prompted to share, it doesn't matter who listens. What matters is that you share your story. So for me, I tried to write a book, but I knew I had to share it. And I found a formula that worked for me. And I said yes. And my concern wasn't so much who would listen or who would get it, but that I put it out there for whoever needed it to find it.
Wow. Amazing. Well, it seems you're doing so much in this big ministry of creativity and reading. I like to ask you, who are your biggest influence, and how have these people impacted your life?
Oh my goodness. For me, it was people that believed in me. I remember when I was going through my divorce and I was so sad, and this woman, her name was Precious, and I said, I'm so sad, and I feel like I'm not getting to the other side. And you know what she said to me? Of course you're sad. And she validated me. So there were people in my life. There was also people I looked to. So I looked to people that were in radio because I wanted to get back into radio. And of course, as we have talked about, and I don't know if you want me to mention my authors yet, but there were so many authors that had messages that basically just said, keep going, don't give up. You may hit a wall, you may run into challenges. That doesn't mean stop. It just means solve a problem, find a way to get where you're going.
Wow. We've been on to author Laurie Hardie. Author Laurie Hardie has been giving us some amazing and engrossed time on this particular session. Well, author Laurie Hardie is the author of Did Not See That Coming, Hope for Single Parent. Well, she has a podcast, and I'm very certain that whoever is going to be streaming this podcast session, this unique episode, will have a lot to learn from author Laurie Hardie. And even though he's single parent some way, please, you do try to share this information. And you do try to don't just buy a copy for yourself. Make sure you buy copies to share to your friends. Wow, author Laurie Hardie, I see you can't wait to take our 10 books challenge. I am humbled. I am so humbled. We realized that you would not do so much unless you read so much. And it shows how crass your example is. And we can't wait to have you take that challenge. I'm sure you're ready.
Yes. So you know what the challenge was? Doing just 10. So I love to read self-help as well as novels. So are you ready?
Sure, I'm ready.
I love Jacqueline Winspear and her Maisie Dobbs series. I love Louise Penny. I
Oh,
love
oh,
Jack.
oh, oh, oh,
Yeah,
oh, 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 Laurie Hardie. Take it slow.
take it
Take it
slow.
slow. I'm going to be counting it on you. Well, you're allowed to talk about the ones that really click for you, like the lessons you earned from that devouring. So I'll be
Yeah.
counting on you. So take it slow. Let's do
Okay.
this.
So Louise Penny is an author, and I love her series. Gavin DeBecker, I learned so much. His book is called The Gift of Fear, and it teaches you how to trust your instincts. And every woman would benefit from reading it, and every teenager. Gavin DeBecker, The Gift of Fear.
Wow. Amazing. That's number 2. Go on, Otolari.
Okay, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow
Hmm.
Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. Wow. I like you to talk about Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah. So many things about mindset, teaching you to think differently. I love it. And I read that almost once a year. And there's an
That's
author
amazing.
that
That's
just
number
passed.
3.
Yeah. There's an author that just passed away. Her name is Rachel Held Evans. And I can't think of the name of her book offhand, but I love her mission, and she's really trying to help people look at their faith a little differently, and very to really think about what it is that you believe. So Rachel Held Evans.
Number 4. Go on, Otolori.
Okay, have you heard of Kyle Cease?
No, not at all.
He's a comedian turned transformation coach, and his books are amazing. One is The Illusion of Money, and the other is I Hope I Mess This Up. And it's just so great to help us think different. So when we come up against a problem, rather than go, I hate this, we go like, oh, I can't find my wallet, and I love this. We say, and I love this.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Okay.
Wow. We have 5, Otolori. But before you continue, I like to talk to our audience globally. Well, we've been on to Laurie Hardie, and she's taking the Name 10 Books Challenge. Well, she's the amazing author of Did Not See That Coming. This one is a big hope for single parents. Trust me, you don't have to cry alone. Laurie has made sure that she provides you with this comfortable shoulder to lean on, and you'll be very comfortable. Trust me, you'll be very comfortable. She's having a Name 10 Books Challenge, and you will enjoy these names. Laurie, go on.
Okay.
You have 5 to go. So we are going to see who the next 5 authors would be.
Okay. Sarah J. Maas, Maas. And she has like 5 different series, and they're fantasy, and they're just a really wonderful way to get lost. And there's a neuroscientist I love. Her name is Caroline Leaf, Dr. Caroline Leaf, and she suggests that for our mental health, we read not only self-help, but we read fiction. So, and she happens to like Sarah Maas too. So that makes me happy.
Wow. We have 3 to go. Laurie Hardie, you got this. You did the thing. Go on.
Okay. Ellie Griffith. She has a series about a lady who does bones. What do you call that? Like, it's not like, anyway, she helps police solve mysteries because she is a professor and a teacher, and she understands bones when they find the bones. So there's a whole series, and she's amazing, and love it so much.
Wow, amazing. With just 2 to go, Laurie, go on.
Okay, Jay Shetty. If you've ever heard of Jay Shetty, he used to be a monk, and he's amazing. And He has books and podcasts and so much
Yeah.
wisdom. So much
Yeah.
wisdom. Okay, this is
Amazing.
hard.
Amazing.
Hard to pick the last one, but
Hmm.
when COVID hit, I decided to revisit one of my favorite authors, J.A. Jance. And
Wow.
she has 3 different series, and one I hadn't read at all, and then one, so I read that whole series. I revisited one I had read. But what I love about her is the one series that's set where I live in Seattle. One of the things
Hmm.
I do on the radio is I'm a traffic reporter, and she always talks about different traffic reporters. And
Wow.
so one of them is named Paul Tosh. So I'm reading the book. I'm like, hey, I work with that guy. So I reached out to her and we've been emailing, and I'm just hoping that in her next book, maybe I'll be the traffic reporter.
Wow, wow. Congratulations, Laurie Hardie. You did a thing. You're very amazing. You're very, very amazing. You're very amazing.
Thank you. This has
Well,
been fun.
we are going to be streaming this on the one student, one book, one author mantra tonight. We've been on to Laurie Hardie. Laurie Hardie is the author of Did Not See That Coming, Hope for the Single Parent. Well, I'm going to be adding a special link on a podcast note, and you have an opportunity to build a rapport with her. Trust me, like I said, she is going to give you her hands, and she's going to take you by your hands. You can't afford to miss this one. Laurie Hardie, before you go, I'd like you to tell us about how you draw your inspiration from everyday life for you to keep going, for you to do what you do. It seems there is a mitochondria some way, and you're tapping into it. How do you get going?
You know, what I found works for me is I have a daily routine, and for everyone, they're not always a morning person, but in the morning I get up, I swim, and then I just spend time. I read my Bible, I read a little self-help, and I take time to just be quiet and try to just think or listen or hear. And every day my prayer is, who can I help today? Because sometimes it's as simple as returning a cart for somebody at a grocery store. Just trying to be aware of the needs of just whoever I'm around, whether it's at work, at the store, in my neighborhood. Trying to be aware and be the kind of person that is kind and helpful, not too helpful. That can be bad too.
Wow, Laurie Hardie, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. But before you go, I like to ask you, what is the significance of reading? I mean, for you who has done so much for yourself, what would you tell the young man who is yet to read a book? What would you tell that single parent who is yet to buy one?
It's so easy now to get lost on social media, to scroll, to watch short videos. So when we look at a book, often we might say, wow, that's a big commitment. But
Yeah.
if you can find a book that you love and take the time to read it, if you can't read, if that's not something you're like, I get lost, I have ADHD, then listen to it on tape, because the truth is, everything that comes out now on YouTube, it seems to me, in my years and years of reading, that it all originates from that creativity, from books from our childhood. And when one of my friends, her daughter was having a baby, and I gave her some little kids books, and she said, Mom, why is she giving my kid book? It's not even born yet. And I loved her answer. She said, because I wasn't very good about making you read as a child, but if you can make your child read or read to them from the very beginning, they're gonna love books. And if they love books, the whole world opens up for us.
Wow. Amazing. Otolori, well, I like you to talk to us. Tell us about your next call. What can your readers look forward to?
If should I say if or when my next, I think it will probably be, and my sister gave me this idea, is all these amazing people that I've gotten to interview, because I work at a radio station, so I interview people there, and for my podcast, is I would like to take their stories and what they've learned and turn that into my next book, and it will probably be
Hmm.
called Interrupted.
Wow. Wow. So we are looking at it, and I'm sure you're going to bring it on.
Now I'm going to have to. You're holding my feet to the fire, Stuart.
Wow, Laurie Hardie. I like you to leave your last words. What would be your last word to that woman who is saddened with the task of raising that stubborn boy by herself? What would be your last word to that young guy who is procrastinating his life and doing frivolous stuff? What would be your last word to that young girl who doesn't know that reading would do so much for her? What would be your last word to the traumatized and the
Yeah.
downtrodden?
Trauma is a big thing, and so many of us have different traumas. And my message would be, find someone that has walked through what you walk through, and
Hmm.
know that you will make it to the other side. You are not alone. And I remember feeling so alone. And when I went through my divorce, we didn't have internet. We had internet, but it was, dial up. So all I could do was go to the library and try and find books. And I'll tell you one story. My grandma, my great grandma was a single mom because she was a widow. And I had heard that she had written journals, and I've spent my life looking for them. And I just think, man, if I would have been able to read her words and get her wisdom, because she raised a pretty tough little boy, that,
Wow.
maybe that would have helped me. So, two things: find people that can mentor you, and read books that will help you, and then tell your story. Know that you're going to get through it. Know that other people are walking through, and tell your story, whether you're sharing it on a podcast, whether you're blogging, whether you're just telling your neighbor and friend, but share the lessons that you've learned from your story, because I promise, it will help somebody.
It always helps one person. One
Yeah.
person.
Mm.
One person. Well, Otolori Hardie, you have been so amazing on this unique episode. And all of us at Guardian Cross Podcast community, we're so humbled. We're so humbled.
I have a message for
Mm.
you too. Is, as a podcaster, the best way that people can help you with your mission is for anybody, everyone who's listening. And I don't like to say everyone, but you go and give
Yeah.
Steward, the Guardian Cross, a 5-star rating. If you can go somewhere that you find this podcast and write a review, because that is what's going to help them get their mission into the world, by you taking just a couple seconds to give a 5-star rating, to write a review. It's not that hard. And the reason that we ask is because people might not think of it on their own. So
Yeah.
do the Guardian Cross a big favor and go give them a rating, a 5-star, and write a review. And share with everyone you know.
Oh, Laurie Hardie, you're so sweet. Thank you very much for being an amazing soul. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We are so humbled. We feel so opportune to have a fine mind like you on this project. And we look forward to have you on this show, on our webinars and our Zoom meet and greet. But I'm sure that the good Lord will watch over you and bless you bountifully with long life.
Thank
You're a
you.
big asset. You're a big asset, Laurie Hardie. Thank you very much for giving us clarity.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Wow, with this, we come to the end of this episode. And on the occasion of one student, one book, one author mantra tonight, we had a rare privilege and opportunity to have a fine mind, Author Laurie Hardie, on the show. And she is an amazing soul. You can't afford to miss a podcast and her books. You need to look at our podcast link, our podcast note. We are going to be leaving our website, and you do the needful. Share it with your friends, share it with your community. Don't forget that you become the books you read and the people you meet. Author Laurie Hardie will take you by your hands. Well, I promise you, trust me, this is the only community that will help you win. We've been on to Laurie Hardie, and we are at the end of this session. We are looking forward to have another session next week, and we are hoping that you're going to devour this session. It has been your host, Smart Steward Udo, on behalf of the Global Readers Circle. Thank you very much, Laurie Hardie. Thank you very much for being an amazing soul. Thank you for sharing your story. God bless you.
God bless you.